Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Ama Mama. I'm glad you're here. I have one of my little dogs here with me for as long as he will. Maybe I don't want to kiss. As long as he will behave and let me do what I'm trying to do. We did get a new kitten who is super cute and pretty much loves the dogs, although it is kind of funny because the dogs are kind of scared of him. My big dog doesn't. Like, he's fine. He likes them, but the little dogs are scared of the kitten, which is really funny because the kitten weighs like 2 pounds right now. So that's pretty funny. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and do my August TBR. And so what I ended up doing for August is I just picked some books to read. And I decided to do it that way rather than like pulling from my TBR jar or trying to do something else, simply because I had so many books that were short stories this last month that, I don't know, it's made it feel like for some of the time, like my reading has felt a little draggish because I have so many short stories. And I still have several books that are short stories, and I was a little bit worried that I would end up like drawing, several more books of short stories, and I didn't want to do that. Plus, I have a couple of books that really seem, based on the type of book and then one, like the title, that are things that I really wanted to read during the summer, which is kind of quickly vanishing away. Not the heat, but as far as like the month. And so I there were a couple of books that I definitely wanted to try to read before September. And then after that, I'll go back to pulling from my jar. So I'm going to show you what I picked for the month. And plus, one of them was another Goodreads giveaway. I haven't yet picked anything to read specifically like on my Kindle that I have on there. I may add something to that, but again, based on what I've picked and the fact that I'm still, I do still have some time left in July, but I'm still reading 3 books now that are short stories. So I just want to kind of be a little bit careful with how much I pick, because I really like getting through my TBR, and there is like no good reason. Nothing is going to happen if I don't finish it, but like, I don't know, I'm a little type A personality about some things, I guess. And so when I'm like, oh, I have this on my books that I'm going to read and I can't finish them for whatever reason, it kind of drives me crazy. And so I get a little bit overly driven to complete what I said I was going to. So because of that, I just want to be careful with how much I have, because I'm hoping that I can kind of finish everything, including all the short stories. So, and like I said, I still have some time in July, so I am hoping I'm going to be able to finish at least 1, maybe 2 of the short stories books. I think that because I'm still working on the Mark Twain book, and I have a feeling I am not gonna finish that one. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way done, somewhere in there, maybe 2/3. But I'm getting close to being done with that one. But I still have quite a few stories in that book. Like, some of the stories are really good, and I kind of blow through them, and there are a couple in there that, I don't know, they're not my favorite, or they're a little convoluted. The one that I had just read, I think it was like the double-barreled detective story, I don't know, that one was a little bit confusing, and it felt a little all over the place. And so I couldn't even read it in one sitting. I had to take a little bit more time with it because it wasn't holding my attention. And so that one was a little bit trickier. So that one, again, so the Mark Twain ones have been a little hit or miss for me. And then I'm also still working on the Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which most of the stories that I've been reading in that book, I've actually really enjoyed. I mean, they're definitely, short. And so, that's why they're short stories, because they're short, but just meaning like they're quick to read. And so some of them, have been like mysteries and not necessarily like horror, but definitely ones that make you kind of think, or they're interesting. So I've been enjoying that book. And then I started reading If It Bleeds by Stephen King. And that one, I thought it was only the story following Holly Gibbons. And I was wrong. That one's also short stories. So I don't think I had realized that one. So I thought it was just a book with like an additional like follow-up to The Outsider with Holly Gibbons. And it's not. And I mean, that is in here, and that's the story I'm currently reading, but there are 3 other stories in the book. But I am enjoying that. I've been actually listening to that one on Spotify because, again, all of the short stories are trying to kill me. And so I've been able to listen to that one like while I'm driving and stuff. And plus with school and everything, it's just been kind of hit or miss with reading time. So that's kind of just a quick update on where I'm at for what I've been reading this week. I did also want to do, it's not even like a book haul, but I want to show you what I got this week. I had mentioned that where did I put the book? I had mentioned that I had won a Goodreads giveaway for a dark romance novel of Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRoe. And I've never read a dark romance, didn't know what to expect, but it was book 2. And because it said book 2, I was assuming, like it's a trilogy. So I kind of thought you need to read one before you read the next for it to all make sense. And so I went ahead and I got a copy of Her Soul to Take, which is the first one. However, like I'm finding out like I probably would have been fine. I probably didn't have to read this one first, but I'm still glad that I did because I'll know who the characters are. But it looks like the books are each a take on like some different characters. So then because I went to renew my membership with Barnes and Noble, and I was kind of looking around, and I have no idea what this book is about, but there was a novel on display that Keanu Reeves helped write with China. I'm not sure how the last name is pronounced. Mieville. It's, I don't know if you can see it. Mieville. So I'm not sure how that is pronounced, but he, it had some good reviews, and I'll have to look, but I'm not sure when I'll read it. But I just thought, well, that's kind of fun. I like Keanu Reeves, and I love, the Matrix movies and John Wick. And so I just thought it would be fun to kind of see how this writing was. I guess he, from what I do remember reading while I was in the store, like he wrote a comic book series or a graphic novel, Berserker, which I had never heard of, but I guess that was, well, it says it was really good. So I have no idea. I haven't heard it. I don't really read a lot of like graphic novels and stuff, so I'm not sure. But anyway, so I picked this up today because I was curious. So I'll add this to my shelf. So let me get to what I want to read in August. And so I'm going to start with what I had already mentioned, which is the Her Soul to Take. And as I had said, I actually had already started reading this one simply because I need a break sometimes from the short stories. So I try to read a bit of the short stories every day, but I wanted to like read an actual longer novel. So I started this one. This first one is following Leon and Ray. And Leon is a demon. Ray is a human, and there is a family that is trying to raise a ancient god and bring that ancient god back to power. And because of Ray's bloodline, this family needs to offer her as a sacrifice to help raise the god. And so she is trying to stay alive, basically. And then Leon is this demon who had been summoned, I guess. He had been summoned by the family and kind of kept in captivity because they had a grimoire with his name in it and stuff like that. And they had been using him to try to help find the 3 needed sacrifices and stuff like that. And I don't want to spoil too much of the plot line, but just in case somebody, decides they want to read a dark romance. But they kind of fall in love. Well, I assume they fall in love. I'm not quite as far as the falling in love part, but they are developing feelings for each other. I will say, definitely if somebody was going to read this, check, I don't know, trigger warnings, content warnings, whatever. It's not what I expected. The storyline I'm really enjoying for sure because it's interesting. It definitely has a lot of very graphic sexual scenes in it, which is a lot more than what I normally read, which it may sound strange, but because of the way the story is, it's not ruining the book for me. So I'm not going to really say much more than that, but a lot of times when I'm reading a book, if it's this lighthearted romance and then suddenly the author is throwing in these very graphic sex scenes and things like that, sometimes it detracts from the book for me. But because of the way this is written and the type of storyline it is, it's not doing that. However, I will say it is very, very graphic. And so if you do not like that, I would not recommend this book at all. But as far as the plot and the storyline, I'm really enjoying it. So, technically I have already started reading this, but it is on my August TBR. Then that will bring me to Her Soul for Revenge, which was the one that I won as the giveaway. I don't know much about this one, but it's following Juniper and Zane. Juniper is also a demon, and he has been introduced in this first book. So has Juniper. Juniper is actually the first person that the family had tried to sacrifice to raise this ancient god, and they failed. She got away. And so that story has to do with them. And it's kind of the same thing, Juniper and Zane have become, linked together, and he protects her. Other than that, I don't really know anything else about this book. So, based on the first one, I'm assuming that it's going to be the same, where there's going to be lots of graphic sex scenes. I can only assume. Then I chose James Patterson, The People versus Alex Cross. Again, I enjoy listening to these, so I will probably see if this is available on Libby, so that I can listen to the audiobook of it if there is one. But I have been really enjoying the Alex Cross books. This one says that Alex Cross has never been on the wrong side of the law until now. Charged with gunning down followers of his nemesis, Gary Sanji, in cold blood, Cross is being turned into the poster child for trigger-happy cops. The evidence, despite Cross's suspension, his former partner comes to him for help investigating the disappearances of several young women. A gruesome video leads their illicit investigation to the darkest corners of the internet. Although Cross has everything on the line, he will do whatever it takes to stop a dangerous criminal, even if he can't save himself. So this sounds good. I'm sure I will enjoy it. Like I said, I've really been enjoying, especially listening to the Alex Cross books. I do read them, parts of them when I have time to kind of sit, but they're great for listening to while I'm doing things because the way the chapters are, they're usually just short, easy to listen to. Whenever I have listened to one of these so far, it's narrated really well. They add in, some different effects so that you kind of feel like you're listening to a movie. So I'm looking forward to listening to this one. And I only have a couple more Alex Cross books. The only thing that I will say is that I kind of wish that I had checked, rather than like pulling these and just reading them as I've pulled them, I kind of wish that I had checked to see like what order they were written in. Because although they are, like they do all stand on their own, they are standalone, so you don't have to read them in order and you don't have to read all of them by any means to know what's going on and to enjoy the storyline. However, they're all intermingled enough that there have been a couple times that when I've been reading them, I realized that like I'm reading a book that happened before one that I already read. And so some of the timing it feels a little off for me, and I have to like rearrange my placement to see kind of where they are, just like even with like the ages of the kids and what grades they're in and how old his grandma is and his wife, her position within the police force. So it's little things like that. So it's not enough that it makes like a huge difference. But like I said, I kind of wish that I had checked to see when they were written and maybe read them in that order. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to reading this. Okay, and then that leads me to the two that I specifically wanted to make sure to read during the summer, because I know that like when it starts like cooling off and feeling like fall and Christmas and all of those things, I'm just not going to be as likely to read them. The first one is Summer Sisters by Judy Blume. And this one I had just happened to see when I was at a used bookstore, and so I had picked it up. Honestly, I didn't even realize that Judy Blume wrote things other than like children's books because I remember reading her when I was a kid, and so I did not realize she wrote other things. So this particular book says, in the summer of 1977, Victoria Leonard's world changes forever when Caitlin Somers chooses her as a friend. Dazzling, reckless Caitlin welcomes Vix into the heart of her sprawling, eccentric family, opening doors to a world of unimaginable privilege, sweeping her away to vacations on Martha's Vineyard, an enchanting place where the two friends become summer sisters. Now, years later, Vix is working in New York City. Caitlin is getting married on the vineyard, and the early magic of their long, complicated friendship has faded. But Caitlin begs Vix to come to her wedding to be her maid of honor, and Vix knows that she will go because she wants to understand what happened during that last shattering summer. And after all these years, she still needs to know why her best friend, her summer sister, still has the power to break her heart. So, we'll see. I hope that I enjoy this. It kind of, like reading the back of it, it kind of makes me think of Firefly Lane that I read not too long ago. I mean, not necessarily like the plot itself, but just like that friendship aspect and the falling apart from each other and the relationship stuff. So anyways, but because of the whole like Summer Sisters thing, I don't know, in my mind, I had already gotten this a while ago, and because it was like fall and wintry months, I just didn't feel like reading it. And so I want to make sure I read this before the end of the summer. Then the next book that I have is 92 Pacific Boulevard by Debbie McComber. And this one, I don't even know, does it even say what it's about? It just, hang on, it is a Cedar Cove novel. So I'm assuming that is maybe a series that she does. I think this is actually the synopsis kind of thing. It says, "Dear reader, I'm not much of a letter writer. As the sheriff here, I'm used to writing incident reports, not chatty letters. But my daughter Megan, who will be making me a grandfather soon, told me I had to do this, so here it goes. I'll tell you straight out, I had hoped to marry Faith Beckwith, my one-time high school girlfriend, but she ended the relationship last month, even though we're both widowed and unavailable. There were few misunderstandings between us, some of them inadvertently caused by Megan. However, I've got plenty to keep me occupied, like the unidentified remains found in a cave outside town, and the fact that my friend, Judge Olivia Griffin, is fighting cancer. In the break-ins at 204 Rosewood Lane, the house Faith happens to be renting from Grace Harding. If you want to hear more, come on over to my place or to the sheriff's office if you can stand the stale coffee. Troy Davis." So again, just like with the cover and with it being Debbie McComber and not a Christmas story, I wanted to read this during the summer. If you've watched any of my videos where I've read anything by so far, I'm kind of like about Debbie McComber. My mom loved her, which is why I had all these books. So I've just been reading them kind of in my mom's memory. But they've all been just kind of mediocre for me. So I'm not super excited about this one. They are lighthearted. They are easy reads. They're not bad. It's just that so far, everything I've read, I feel like it's lacked a lot of like depth of the characters and the storyline. And sometimes the plots have been so silly that they've been just kind of hard to read because I'm like, oh, that just makes zero sense, or I don't know. So they've been kind of like ho-hum for me, but I'm going to read that. So those are the main ones that I want to read for August. Now, on the off chance that I finish all the short stories that I am currently working on and finish reading all of these, I have also thrown in, for good measure, 44 Irish short stories, an anthology of Irish short fiction from Yeats to Frank O'Connor, because again, I still have several, I think after this one, I still have like 2 or 3 more short stories, books of short stories, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I'm just trying to, I thought rather than ignoring all of them until I have so many that that's all I'm reading, I thought I had better at least try to get to one. And I don't know if I've read, I mean, I know that I've read some Yeats for sure in college, and possibly Frank O'Connor. I was trying to look through, there's James Joyce, I recognize. So like some of the stuff, I don't know about like what's in the book, but as far as like some of the authors, Oscar Wilde, so some of the authors I'm sure that I've, or Yeats, not Yeats, but William Yeats. Anyways, I'm sure that I've read some works by these authors, but I don't know about what's in this book. So I'm hoping I enjoy it. But like I said, I wanted to throw another short story one in there, being that there's 44 of them. And given the fact that usually I tend to only read 1 short story a day out of each of the books when I have short stories, it probably won't be done in August. So, but that's okay. So that is what I have planned for right now. If for some reason I finish all these, I will add to them. I am actually getting towards the end of the books that I had originally had on my bookshelf from forever, when I first started trying to read mostly from what I already own without reading too many new books. Since then, I definitely have picked up new books. I've tried to slow myself down on that though, so that because I really am trying to focus on the ones that I've had on my bookshelf for years. And so I've been trying to be careful about, you know, how many new ones I'm getting, or making sure that I'm not just only reading my new ones and ignoring the ones that I've had for a long time. So because of that, I want to say that I'm down to like maybe 10 or 12 left of the original ones. Hang on. So actually I'm down to 8, not including what I am going to put on my TBR for August, but I'm down to 8 left of the original ones that I have. Now I have more than that on my shelves because I had bought some new ones after I had decided I needed to read what I already owned. And so, you know, I do still have more, but those ones are all newer ones. So as far as like the original ones that I had, I only have 8 left. And that was the other thing. I wanted to make sure that I had tried to pull some of those ones that were in my original bookshelf so that I am getting those read. The only new ones that I have are the Souls trilogy books, and like I said, that was probably with the Goodreads giveaway. So that is it for today. Hopefully next week I will be kind of following up with my wrap up for July, and fingers crossed that I have been able to finish at least one of the books of short stories, maybe 2, because I would feel great about having those done before going into August, given the other stuff that I want to read. So I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.